Welcome to Resource Thursday with Nodeware. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. This is a place to learn how to run your IT business, whether you're a one-person shop or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host. We have none other than Mr. Rick Smith. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Paco. It's Thursday, as you like to say, Friday Junior. So as I like to say, any better than it be a sin.
I hear that. I hear that. Anything new and exciting over at Renactus Technology this week, or is it kind of just the old, same old, same old?
Same old, same old. We are very close, this close to getting the new website complete. So that should be rolling out. I hope at the beginning of the next week or the end of the weekend, something like that. But that's about the extent of our excitement over here right now.
I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, no, I was over at CompTIA CCF last week. It was a great time. It was one of those where you got to meet all your great friends and community members and council members. So MJ Shore and all the team over there put on a really great show. And it's interesting on how they are changing the conversation when it comes to cybersecurity, managed service providers, and it's definitely not the CompTIA of old from way back when, so many years ago. It's definitely embracing a lot of what it's trying to do moving forward. So I do commend them and seeing all of my great friends, which one of them was at the company that we'll be introducing here in shortly. But before we go into that, I want to talk about what was kind of the topic of some of these conversations last week. I know it's your favorite thing. It's my favorite thing too. What else could I be talking about? And that is TechCon Unplugged. TechCon Unplugged will be at Woodbridge, New Jersey, September 7th through the 10th at the Delta Hotels Woodbridge. I hear it's a great venue from other people that I was talking to, but Rick has also did that co-sign, so it's right in his backyard. So I assume he's going to give it the thumbs up. But most importantly, we have switched things up. You are now going to join us for 2.5 days of content to help better your business. Do 3 really specific things that we like to talk about: save money, save time, and most importantly, improve your services so that it can make sure that you have those tangible takeaways back to your business. And what type of business, what type of MSP could come? Again, as we've introed in this show, it is a great place for any IT solution provider of any size, whether, again, you're an emerging MSP or a veteran in the space. This is definitely the place for you. Again, early bird tickets are going to be off sale. They're on sale now, but off sale at the end of March 31st. So please go ahead and head over to techconunplugged.com for early bird pricing. You can purchase your tickets over there at $199. It's an all-inclusive ticket, folks. You get your food, you get your beverages. Doesn't include hotel, but you're going to get a great time involved in our not only our Thursday mixer, but also we're going to have our Saturday night social, which will be over at the Woodbridge Brewing. Did I get that right, Rick?
You got it right. The Woodbridge
All right.
Brewing Company.
Perfect. It's going to be a great time. If you've been to previous events, it's going to be a great time. I know our guest has been at previous events as well. But again, we really appreciate those that are here supporting us. And we look forward to you over at TechCon Unplugged, techconunplugged.com to get your ticket today. All right, Rick. Super excited to introduce our friend. He is not new to this show. He is one of the most dynamic personalities we have had before. Who am I talking about?
For sure.
We have none other than Matthew Koenig, VP of Channel Sales of Nodeware. Matthew, how the heck are you, my friend?
I am great. And wait, let me say this. TechCon Unplugged rocked. It was a lot of fun last year. There was a lot of great discussion. As a vendor, I had a blast and I got to meet a lot of cool people. So that's all you can ask out of a show.
I appreciate that. Matthew has been on our last 2 shows. He definitely has seen the variety that we've had. It was in Chicago, those 2 shows. We will be in a new location, similar to what we were in our first one, where we were in Grand Rapids, but we're now in the East Coast, giving that some East Coast love for those that are in the residence there. But Matthew, enough about TechCon. I really want to talk to you, my friend. It's been a while. How's everything going for you?
Good. Things are going real well. You know, going crazy like usual. Came on with Nodeware in January. And so far, we have rebranded the organization, done all kinds of new trade show stuff, redone brochures, redone our go-to-market strategy. So just tons going on to, try to bring the solution to market more effectively. Plus, like usual, I'm out there trying to teach MSPs how to sell more cybersecurity because I've always said, huge industry, small community, right? You always need to be giving back and taking care of your own. And, I believe that really strongly.
That's very cool. Yeah, no, I think that, everyone should know who you are. You are definitely not new to the space. Obviously that I'm imagining that's why Nodeware had took you on for that experience that you have as well. But for those that may not know your journey or just may not know you at all, why don't you give us a little quick intro of what your impact has been for the channel and how you found your way over at Nodeware?
Oh, sure. So I've been in the channel a long time. Started way back when, selling hardware and stuff with the larger VARs and stuff, and ended up at Rapid Fire Tools one day. Went in there as their first sales manager. They gave me 3 telemarketers, which Mark Winter, if you watch this, I'm still mad about because they said sales team. They were not a sales team. And from there, over the next 5 years, took on, growing the entire organization. So by the time I left, I had 28 direct reports, was in charge of channel management for account management, acquisition, pre-sales engineering, customer success, and we had grown a great company. Also, once Mark figured out that I was capable of speaking in front of an audience, I started doing 50, 60 shows a year where I really got to meet, a lot of the MSPs that I know now out there and hopefully provide them some value, not just about the product, but how to go to market, right? Because my background sales and marketing. After Kaseya acquired Rapid Fire Tools, I decided that, it wasn't the right place for me. I like smaller companies, not bigger companies. And I went on to both Breach Secure Now, Galactic Advisors, and Nodeware came a calling and said, hey, we need somebody that can really take us to market, make the brand stand out, and really make sure everybody knows we exist. So that's what I've been trying to do, and it's been a whirlwind. But like always, it's a blast. It's so much fun. So as I said, I've been in the channel 15 years, met thousands of MSPs. I love all of them. I love going to shows and interacting. It's just a blast. One of my favorite parts at shows, I know you can't imagine this, is speaking. It's just,
oh, really?
It's so much, I know. But it's so much fun because you get to teach and it's one to many and hopefully you can change lives. I had a guy last year, it was a Kaseya Connect that came up with me and really freaked me out. Basically, the short story said, you're my hero. And I went, yeah, okay, have another drink. And that's kind of freaky. But he explained to me that he watched one of my presentations. He took my advice to heart. And it literally helped him double sales in the next year that he was doing stuff. Now, nice. Where's the disclaimer that says those results are not typical or usual when I give advice? But, he said it really made an impact on his life. And you know what? That was it. As far as I was concerned, I didn't need to do anything else that show. That made me a happy boy.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think there's just so 2 things. I think you won an award last year for your presentation at TechCon, and again, very unique and dynamic individual, but also I think it just shows the amount of care you have for the industry. I do know that speaking with you, you're always willing to provide help, right? And advice, and then not just on whatever company you're with, but just the things that you've seen, right? And really being able to understand, all right, look, I've seen how people have done it the wrong way, or how they have failed by doing these things. Here is my suggestion or my take on how you should do things. This is what I've seen successful people, processes, companies have done. Take what you want. I'm just here to tell you this is what it is, right? And I think that's always been a great input that we have received from you, because you really are one that doesn't speak opinion as fact. You're like, look, I'm not here to mess around. I'm not here to josh you. I'm here to tell you this is what I know, and it's worked. And so, and there's only one Matthew. You're not going to get different versions of any way. So, and I appreciate that. And that's how we built our great rapport and friendship over the years, just because, there is just, you see what you get, right? So you either can take it or you can leave it. And either way, it doesn't hurt you because of the love that you have for the industry as well.
Absolutely. And I find a lot of times, honestly, I've had some of my bosses cringe when they've heard some of my conversations with MSP owners. But you know what? it's, as you said, it's all out of a place of love, and they're not used to having someone tell them they're wrong. And sometimes they need to be told they're wrong, literally that blatantly, you're wrong, but let me explain why, right? Let me help you and explain why. But some previous bosses freaked out when they heard me say, no, you're wrong. And you can't say that. I'm like, no, I can. I can. I really can. A lot of people know me. I know a lot of people. And, they know I'm not trying to be hurtful. I'm trying to help them. But their employees certainly are not going to tell them they're wrong. So somebody needs to.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely on that point of being able to leverage where experience is needed, and also being able to say, hey, look, I'm here for the job. This is what you're hiring me for. Let me do my thing. Rick, I mean, I think we talk about this all the time where we're brought into clients where, they're hiring us for a specific task, right? But, they either don't trust their employees, or they're trying to go around a way about round of trying to do things when you're trying to explain to them, look, we've done this. We've been around the block a couple times. We know what our best practice is. This is really what you need to do. Can you talk a little bit about experiences of just why we need to do what we do because of experience, and how experience trumps all?
Well, it's it's the experience. And it's not only just knowing, because you have the knowledge, right? And I hate to keep using the same words, but it's also that experience you've had 100 times over. You've seen it, right? Just like your customers in their industry, whatever they do, right? They know how things work, right? They know what may work, what may not work, what should work, what should not work. And they're adamant about that because they harp on the past, okay, I'll say it again, the past experiences they have. And it's the same thing with us. And sometimes it's like banging on a wall to be, or trying to break down a brick wall to be honest with someone and say, hey, I've been here. I've seen this 100 times. Your way of going about this is just going to take us in a full circle where we're going to be having the same conversation 6 months from now. So, the best thing to do is, and we can't have a good relationship if we're not honest with each other. And if I'm not honest with you and I tell you just what you want to hear, then I'm not serving. You have no need for me. You can pay somebody else to be a yes man. So that is basically, how I see it. It's just sometimes you have to tell people what they don't want to hear, and they may not appreciate it immediately, but later on they will respect you for it. And, that's what's most important. And if they can't see past that, then you're not a good match. You're not a good match together.
Yeah. I mean, it all goes back to ethics, right? We all have our moral compass and our ethical compass. And one of the things I've always said, I did some consulting with some MSPs in between gigs a while back, about a year ago. And it was a lot of fun. But one of them was paying me a good amount of money, but wasn't listening to what I said. And I finally told them I didn't want to take their money anymore. They were like, well, wait a second, we need you. And I was like, I appreciate that. I love you guys to death, but you're paying me a lot of money not to listen to me. And honestly, I don't feel ethical taking your money anymore. And, and that's all we all have in this industry is our reputation and our ability to do the right thing, even if people don't always think we're doing the right thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
totally.
That comes back. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
No, you go.
That can come back to bite you if you don't have ethics and you're taking the money, knowing you're doing the wrong thing. At some point, that's going to catch up with you as well. So it's definitely always better, like you say, Matthew. Just say, hey, I'd rather not be involved in it than to keep taking your money for something that I know is not the right way to do it or the right thing.
Yeah. So, obviously it's important for transparency, visibility, and what a great segue to go into transparency and visibility is talking a little bit about, Matthew, what is Nodeware and what does it do for the community to help improve their services?
Sure. So Nodeware is probably the most complete continuous vulnerability scanning solution on the market. The high level stuff, without going too deep and boring people to death, it's doing internal and external vulnerability scanning constantly in the background. It's rolled out two ways: a sensor on the network, agents on the remote devices, and you can set up credentials where it's getting all of that information. What's nice is it uses less than 2% utilization when we've measured it on networks before. So running in the background, even in the middle of the day, it isn't hurting anything. And so as it does that, first of all, it's platform agnostic. Doesn't care. If it's got an IP address, it's going to bring back information. So first thing it does is a huge asset inventory and brings all that back to you. Next thing, it starts bringing back vulnerabilities at critical, high, medium, and low alerts. What's great is we have a multi-tenant dashboard, whereas a lot of our competitors, right, first of all, you have to set it up. You have to let it run. You're going to miss half the people. You're trying to scam me, you're never getting me because I'm always on the road. With Nodeware, as soon as I log onto the internet, boom, it grabs me, it scans me, it pulls the information back. But with the information that you get back, you can dig down into each customer. You can see the vulnerabilities. You can work right from the dashboard. And some of the cool things we've added is if you have a critical vulnerability, for instance, and it works on all of them, but a critical vulnerability and you dive down, it's going to give you the CVE. But most importantly, if it's a credential scan, it's then going to give you where that CVE, is taking place, where in that device, as opposed to just you have it. The next thing is we now provide a link right to the solution. So there's a link, take you right to the patch or the string or whatever you need to fix that problem. And it's literally, according to our MSPs, cutting down on hours and hours of research and remediation time and things like that, because you're able to go do stuff like that. We meet all the NIST and CIS standards for asset inventory, asset upkeep, vulnerability scanning. So when I say that, I don't mean we literally meet all NIST standards, whatever, but the pieces that we meet all of those standards from a technological standpoint, because it's real important for people to understand that, there's physical and administrative also. So just using our product does not make you compliant. Only thing that makes you compliant is to get audited. I don't know if you want to do that. You want to do the best you can. You probably don't want to be audited. But some of the other cool features are, there's an exception piece. So you can modify a particular risk and say it's acceptable, and it'll create an exception report. There's robust reporting, so you can take it out to customers if you want to show them what's going on. You can also use it where you can give access to a co-managed environment so they can see everything that's going on an ongoing basis. So it's a really complete, easy to use, easy to manage platform. And I'd be remiss not mentioning this. You can roll out an entire organization in 30 minutes or less. I don't care the size. 30 minutes or less, and you're up and running and collecting data.
Yeah, I mean, when I when I first saw it, your counterpart Frank had introduced it to me several years ago, and at that point, it was just crazy on how much and how fast it would pull a lot of those critical vulnerabilities, identifying things in the network, agnostic, as you mentioned. But I think really importantly is just the availability of getting it as well. And just the ease of use of where if you didn't have anybody to talk to you can technically run it and then kind of see where you have. Now, granted, there's so many other things that have been put in place since then, as far as features, things and as far as to enhance it. But I think you hit it really well. And, this is a conversation, or this is a continued conversation on how do you help with the cybersecurity or the security posture of your client, and really figuring out, are you basing it on a framework? On that framework, are you checking off all the controls? Like for us, we're doing CIS version 8, is that control being checked off? And if so, how? I think the biggest piece for what you just highlighted, and I want to make sure everyone takes it away, is that, data is no older than 24 hours a day. I mean, there are times where, in one of the controls, I believe it's like, I think you need to make sure everything is weekly checked on, but the fact that you have a live opportunity to look to see what's going on, there's not a lot of platforms that can consistently do that, but also not take a toll on the network and the actual endpoint as well. As far as partners that have rolled this out, we made a just joke on like, this is really should be included in your offering as your sales tactics. You shouldn't be selling this as an actual thing.
Correct.
What has been kind of the feedback that you've received on just how Nodeware has been improving a lot of their services by just even including this one control?
Sure. I mean, they're finding things all of a sudden that they wouldn't have known until they did their quarterly scan. And they're able to jump on them now to fix things before they actually become a problem. Because as you know, a vulnerability is saying, look, there's a possibility, right? That's what a vulnerability is. It's going in saying something doesn't look quite right, and here's what we think doesn't look quite right. But it's your job to go in and look at it and fix it, whatever the case may be. But if you don't fix it, that's exactly where someone's going to come in and exploit you. So by waiting for those quarterly scans, what people were finding is, guess what? People were jumping in and exploiting those vulnerabilities before anybody even knew about them or knew anything to fix them. So where Nodeware provides that ability is truly quicker information, quicker remediation on the things that are critical to make sure, they don't open up doors to people. And one of the things, I don't think we talk about enough, if a device hits the network, you're notified immediately. So if there's anything outside the normal device it's seen in its last scan, it's literally going to notify you immediately that, hey, this new Windows laptop located at this IP MAC address with this information on it hit your network at this time in this place. That's also incredibly important. And if you're running scans quarterly or even weekly, you may not know about that until someone's done something and is long gone.
Right.
So it just provides a lot of value. The other thing is NIST, CIS, and cyber insurance companies are moving quickly towards requiring continuous vulnerability scanning for that very reason. So if your customers, the MSP customers, want an insurance policy, they're going to have to be able to start providing that to them. Because one of the crappy things I've seen is if, an SMB company is dealing with an insurance company and they're saying, look, you need to meet these things. Do you meet them? And the answer is no. Well, they're offering to send out their MSP partner to come fix the job. So all of a sudden, as an MSP with a client, you're going, hey, what the heck is going on? Who are they? Why are they out here? Because the insurance companies, they don't care. That's why it's so important to keep up with what are those standards in the frameworks that insurance companies are looking at or other companies are looking at, and make sure you're constantly staying ahead of the curve. And that's one of the things Nodeware does for you. It keeps you well ahead of the curve. And it also is starting to meet all those requirements. For instance, we bring down NIST information, IoT information. And one of the funniest I've seen is it brought down a Roomba on someone's account, which I thought was hysterical because it was a corporate environment, not a person. They have a Roomba.
Oh, interesting.
But, because it's connected, it brought back that it's a Roomba, what IP address and whatever. Now it can only take what information the device is giving off.
Sure.
But the reason I bring that up is because IoT is now becoming part of NIST. They're pushing towards, in the next 6 months to a year, that is going to be required also. So my point is, we're already set up and you're already gathering that information. The difference is the manufacturers at some point are going to have to come together and agree on a standard that can then give off the proper information and can allow for patches if need be. But we're set up, we're ready to go. We're bringing that information back to you. So we're constantly trying to stay ahead of the curve in what we bring you.
Yeah, no, and I think it's so important to understand too that you spoke about vulnerability scanning, but this also helps kind of automate the inventory side of one of those controls as well, where you may be manually, or as you mentioned, quarterly, or trying to check the box that you are doing it. This is now allowing you to see it in quote unquote real time, because now you have the ability to not only see what has come on the network, and if it's not approved, it will notify you that it is coming on the network. So what is this unauthorized rogue device? But two, it also identifies things like, why is IoT on the main secure network? It should be on the guest network. It should be VLAN. It should be, and I think, great example, we had a client that ended up putting in smart thermostats and ended up, connecting it to the main Wi-Fi. And I said, well, what the heck are you doing here? And so, we ended up having to put it on the guest Wi-Fi and segment it out. Or, we had another client site where they were giving, because everyone internally was using because this is a client we took over, the Comcast Wi-Fi, but also was giving that Wi-Fi to all of their customers walking in, and they're an automotive repair shop. And I said, well, why are you doing this? And so luckily we got in there, we segmented everything out. I was like, yeah, don't give this out anymore. And so we disabled it and kind of there. But again, it's these type of things where if you don't catch them, you're not going to know. And so this is a great visibility tool, as I go back to transparency and visibility, of really being able to do so as well.
I call it shadow hardware.
Yeah.
I coined the term. You heard it here first, folks. Shadow hardware.
Shadow hardware.
I mean, the fun thing is you love hearing the stories from MSPs about what they found that nobody knew was on the network. That's a lot of, that could be a podcast in itself. What did you find?
I was laughing at Paco talking about the thermostat, because we had one pop up and it didn't identify what it was. So I am trying to chase down this IP address to figure out what the hell is this. And it turns out, and I walked past this thermostat like 4 times and didn't even think about it, that's what it was. And he put that on the Wi-Fi network. But it drove me nuts because I'm walking around looking, trying to figure out what it is. And it brings back some memories.
That is funny. Now, Mathhew, with Nodeware, we obviously talked about what it can do. Now, is there any reporting that can be pulled from this that you could basically, they can either utilize that internally or possibly just provide it to the client, and use it with the client as a conversational piece to just say, hey, look, we got to change some stuff here because you got red, green, and yellow here, and we really got to take care of the reds. Is there anything like that in Nodeware where they have the reporting to really identify and help the conversation between the MSP/IT solution provider and the client?
Yeah, we've got several reports, and we take requests. I mean, they can't be built in like 10 days, but we also take requests that are important. Right now, we've got the top 10 vulnerabilities, right, as an executive report, and you can show month over month how that's changed. Top 25 vulnerabilities, which gets a little deeper. The network report, which could be 400 pages long, depending on the number of assets and everything. And that becomes interactive. So if you take that report and you download it in HTML, you can click on the things that are there and it'll take you right to where that piece is or whatever. That report is great when you're in a co-managed environment, providing them literally all the details they ever want to see that you would get on the dashboard. There's exception reports. So if you have accepted a particular modification, as far as this vulnerability being acceptable because you have a Windows 7 server still running some proprietary software, there's an exception report that you can print with all the exceptions on an account, who did it, when they did it, and why they were accepted. There's an asset inventory report that you can create. So you can see all the assets, as well as you can say assets created in the next few days. So I can go out now and show, hey, these were 5 new assets that I didn't put on the network. What's going on? What are these? Are you aware of this? So there's a lot of robust reporting. And we're working on some other cool things, coming up, having to do with control mapping and other stuff like that should hopefully come out later this year to just make it easier and easier to take this information and match it up against things that are important that you can sit down with a client and go through.
That's awesome. Now, Mathhew, if someone wanted to get a hold of trialing it out, trying to see what Nodeware is all about, what's the best way for them to A, see what the product is all about, B, what's the best way for them to purchase or acquire the product? What does that process look like for them to take a look and try to be a partner of Nodeware?
So to make it easy, I would have them reach out to me because otherwise I could have them reach out to 14 people. So it would be Matthew with 2 T's .Koenig, KOENIG at IGIcyberlabs.com. For those of you that are confused by that domain, it is the parent company that makes Nodeware, hence the email address. The other thing is they can call my cell phone, 678-896-3234. Don't worry about when you call. It's on me all the time, and my wife's already used to it. So I will not get divorced over it. And, the other thing is we can do a demo and an overview with you. We have a proof of concept where you can roll it out however you want for 14 days. When I say however you want, it's full featured. You can roll it right out to a customer. We don't care. One of the things we do require, though, because we have found in the past, and hopefully you guys can relate, is we require to do onboarding that you have a customer picked out. We want to help you onboard that first customer and set up that first customer, even if it's a POC, because A, we find people learn better that way because it's a real environment. We find also people don't forget as much because then they come back and go, wait, how did I do that again? We can also answer questions why it's going along. And finally, and I hate to say this, it's a benefit for both sides though, you're using it. Because the worst thing I hate in the entire world is having someone come to me and saying, I want this, and then never using it. Why? Take it out of my hands. Take it even from a sales standpoint away. You just wasted your time. And to me, your time's even more critical than mine. So at least I know if we onboard a customer with you, it's running, you're seeing information, you're seeing how easy it is to set up. And then at the end of it, if you want to move forward, fantastic, we'll work with you on that. If you don't, I totally understand also, but at least you gave it a good shot to see what was going on. And the final piece is we just introduced a new pricing model. You can buy 3 ways. 1, contract, annual, upfront, you get a decent discount. Annual contract, paid monthly, you get a little bit of a less of a discount, but you get a discount the same way. Or our consumption model, which is no contracts, use as you go. Your minimum is 1, because if you didn't have 1, you wouldn't even be using it. But you put as many as you want, go up and down as you want, get billed 1 month in arrears for whatever the high mark was that particular month, and do it however you want to. The other thing is you can buy directly from us through our portal and everything. Or if you prefer, you can go through Synnex, Ingram Micro. We have a company called Rain Networks that we work with. And coming soon, hopefully, I am currently working with Pax8 to try to get that done and onboarded, because I know how important that is to a lot of MSPs to be able to have all their licensing in one spot. So we're working through that as fast as we can with them at this point in time.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, we will definitely make sure we have all those contact information, all the links inside of our show notes as well. Matthew, we obviously had a lot to talk about and not so much amount of time. Is there anything that we want to discuss before we kind of round out the show that we may not have touched on outside of just the audience should just reach out and schedule those demos and take a look to see what Nodeware can do?
Well, let me make it a second level. If you want to reach out for advice, on some of the presentations I'm doing and stuff like that, you want to discuss how to go to market or how to sell cybersecurity in general, that has nothing to do with Nodeware. Nodeware should be part of your security stack, and I'll explain that to you all day long as to why. But if you want 15 minutes of time, reach out anyway. Say, hey, I need help positioning this, or I don't know how to go to market with this, or I'm running into snags selling this. And reach out. We'll put 15 minutes on the calendar, and we'll kind of go through what it is. I'm happy to help any way I can, as I said in the beginning. So let me back up my big mouth.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, Matthew, really appreciate you coming out on the show as well. Rick, anything you want to lasting thoughts before we round out the show here?
Well, I'm just going to echo your sentiment and thank Matthew for his time and presenting Nodeware to the community. And hopefully, we can find those of us out there who need it can find value in it and take advantage of what he's offering. Second note, again, I'm just going to echo Paco's beginning. TechCon Unplugged is coming up. We are coming towards the end of the early bird ticket sales, right? And we are going to be a stickler for this year. So we encourage you, if you want to take advantage of the early bird pricing, get your tickets before the end of March, before March 31st. I guess when this airs, will be about 1 week left in that time period. So I'm just going to encourage you again, go to TechCon Unplugged, get your tickets.
Be there.
Be there.
Very cool. But again, Matthew, really appreciate you coming on the show. And for all of you for tuning in. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. Watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button so to be notified whenever a new episode is available. You can also take us with you on the go. We're all on your favorite podcatcher apps. We're on Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and on Spotify as well. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.